Give it up for Indian American Impact, everybody. A completely sold out gala. How amazing. My name is Abby Govindan. I know I don't look like my name is Abby. It's because my name is not short for Abigail. It's short for something in Sanskrit because I'm Indian. So my full name is Abhinaya Govindan, okay? Translated from Sanskrit, Govindan means shepherd, and Abhinaya means over-dramatic. So my name does mean over-dramatic shepherd. So essentially, I am Jesus. Speaking of things that I look like, I'm very aware that I don't look like a stand-up comedian. I know the vibe I give off is more like fun temple camp counselor energy, you know? Fun Northern Virginia temple camp counselor energy. I'm so excited to be emceeing tonight. We're gonna bring so many amazing political South Asian change makers on this stage today. There haven't been this many Indian people on a stage in DC since they hosted the Scripps National Spelling Bee here a few years ago. So, big win for our community. I'm so happy to be here in Washington, D.C. This is one of my favorite cities to perform stand-up comedy in. I came here essentially straight from Europe. I just wrapped up an international tour. I was doing my show. Thank you so much. Thank you. I was doing my show. It's called How to Embarrass Your Immigrant Parents. Yeah, it's the story of how I told my parents that I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, how our relationship fell apart because of it, and how we built our relationship back up together. I'm so proud of it. In it, I talk a lot about my parents, and the most common question I get, usually from young Indian kids my age, they always ask me, they're like, hey Abby, why don't you use an Indian accent when you're talking about your parents? And it's like racism of that question aside, my parents' Indian accent is the least funny thing about them, you know? Like my dad, he's a very stoic, unemotional Indian man. I've never seen this man shed a tear once. Except for the day Steve Jobs died randomly. My mom's a very different kind of funny. She's where I get my sense of humor from. Whenever I was a kid and I would piss her off, she'd always say the same thing to me. She'd be like, Abi, you know you're adopted, right? I'd be like, Amma, that can't be true because I look exactly like you. And she'd always say, yeah, you know how after a while dogs start looking like their owners? That's kind of what's happening here. My mom, she's very funny in intentional and unintentional ways. Okay, last year for Christmas, I took her to make one of her own custom lipstick color as a gift, and time came to name her lipstick color, and she was having trouble picking a name. My mom is a pediatric anesthesiologist. That's what she does for a living. So she puts kids to sleep right before they go in for surgery, and she does wake them back up, okay? So I said to my mom, I said, hey, Amma, you're a pediatric anesthesiologist. Why don't you name your lipstick color doctor's orders? And my mom said to me, hey, Abby, I'm an anesthesiologist. Why don't I name it fentanyl? I said, hey, Amma, your favorite animal is a nightingale. Why don't you name your lipstick color nightingale? She said, why don't I name it Cute Kiss from Kalyani? The lipstick lady was like, that won't fit on the tube. And my mom was like, that's okay, KKK for short. I never understood. My parents, they were always very sassy to me growing up. One time when I was 9, I finished my dinner and I threw away my spinach. And my mom asked me, she said, Abby, why'd you throw away your spinach? I said, well, Mama, I don't like spinach. And she goes, oh, is that how the trash works? Well, I don't like you, can I just throw you away too? And I didn't understand how she could talk to me like that. But then I got a cat, and now I get it. Does anyone in here have a cat? So you guys know what I'm talking about. Nilla, my cat, she brings out my inner Indian mother. Within a week of me adopting her, she knocked over and shattered a very expensive vase from India, and it didn't even take me a second thought. I looked her straight in the eye, and I was like, you know, Nilla, euthanasia is covered by your insurance. I could just get rid of you for free. So don't make me do a cost-benefit analysis. What are you guys, animal rights activists and all of a sudden? She doesn't understand me, she can't speak English. No, I have a lot of empathy for my parents. I was a very difficult child to raise. I'll leave you guys on one last story. Over the course of my show, I talk about how I got into a lot of trouble as a kid and as a young adult. And my favorite story to tell, in my senior year of college, I took a class called The Psychology of Disgust. And each week we would talk about something quote unquote disgusting. And one week the topic was white supremacy. So our professors informed us that we would have to buy a copy of The Klansman, which is the KKK manifesto. Now this is true, there's only 2 places in the entire country that you can buy an authentic copy of The Klansman from. The first is the KKK, and the second is Georgetown University. No, I'm just kidding, it's the University of Arkansas, but you guys believe me, right? Everyone was like, that sounds like a Georgetown thing to do. No, this is true. In the country, there's only 2 places you can buy an authentic copy of The Klansman from. The first is the KKK. The second is the University of Arkansas. Here's the problem, Washington, D.C. The KKK's version was a little bit cheaper. You ever been so broke you start questioning your racial morals? No, so I was a broke college student. I decided to get creative. I wrote an email to the University of Arkansas. I said, hey, I'm poor, I can't afford this, could you send it to me for free? And the lady who replied, she was really nice. She was like, no, I'm sorry, the proceeds from this go to our history and classics department, you'd have to pay for it. So I decided to try my hand and email the KKK. I feel like you guys are having trouble trusting me now. Do you guys want to hear that email? I'm gonna need a more resounding yes. Okay. Okay, so this is true. The KKK website, it keeps getting shut down every few years by the FBI, so they restart with a crazy new URL every other year. So the year that I did this, their contact email, it was contact@kkk.biz, okay? So I sent an email to contact@kkk.biz. I said, dear KKK HR department, my name is Abigail, and I'm a nice white woman from the University of Arkansas. I've considered dabbling in white supremacy, but have very little money because of Obama. Would you kindly send me a copy of The Klansman free of charge? Yours, Abigail. And a few weeks later, I got a response. They said, dearest Abigail, it is so nice to see young white women, such as yourself, proactively engaging with their heritage. Attached, you'll find a full copy of The Klansman free of charge. Yours, the KKK. And that is the story of the time that I was so broke that I scammed the KKK out of $32. Thank you. Oh my God, are you guys ready for an amazing night of programming? Well, I am so excited to bring up your first speaker of the evening. Your first speaker of the evening, his name is Avish Jain. Avish Jain is an Indian-American artist who fuses Hindi music with contemporary global influences. Based in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, Avish was trained in Hindustani classical music since the age of 6 as a 3rd-generation singer. He was signed to Saregama music label and carries a discography of over 25 original and cover tracks with over 700,000 streams across all streaming platforms. He's performed nationally across all major cities with independent concerts and opened for international hit acts like Atif Aslam and Shreya Ghoshal. Avish is also a practicing internal medicine physician, training to be an endocrinologist. He's a medical journalist for ABC News and Good Morning America. Please put your hands together for Avish Jain, everybody.
Mic test, mic test. Hi everybody, how's everyone doing? So I'll be singing, not speaking, to entertain you guys for a little bit. I got a couple of songs, and it's a special honor to be here for the Indian American Impact Gala. So I was trying to figure out what to sing, but it is a dinner gala, and I just kind of chose some random songs that are my favorites. So I hope that you enjoy them. Take it away.
मुझको इतना बताए कोई कैसे तुझसे दिल न लगाए कोई रब्बा ने तुझको बनाने में कर दी है उसकी खाली तिजोरियां काजल की सियाही से लिखी है तूने जाने कितनों की लव स्टोरिया केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में रहने सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया रंग जाऊं जो मैं हाथ लगाऊं दिन बीते सारा तेरी फिक्र में रहने सारी तेरी खैर मनाऊं केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया केसरिया तेरा इश्क है पिया
Thank you.
तू मेरा कोई ना हो के भी कुछ लागे तू मेरा कोई ना हो के भी कुछ लागे किया रे जो भी तूने कैसे किया रे जिया को मेरे बांध ऐसे लिया रे समझ के भी ना समझ मैं सकूं सवेरों का मेरे तू सूरज लागे तू मेरा कोई ना हो के भी कुछ लागे तू मेरा कोई ना हो के भी कुछ लागे तू मेरा कोई ना हो के भी कुछ लागे अपना बना ले पिया अपना बना ले पिया अपना बना ले मुझे अपना बना ले पिया अपना बना ले पिया अपना बना ले पिया दिल के नगर में शहर तू बसा ले पिया
Final song, I thought I'd keep it a little bit more upbeat. Thank you.
इश्क में दिल बना है इश्क में दिल फना है मिटा दे या बना दे मैंने तुझको चुना है तेरे सारे रंग ओढ़ के ढंग ओढ़ के तेरा हुआ मैं सबको छोड़ के इश्क करना दांत तोल के राज खोल के आया हूँ मैं सबको बोल के मैं तो चलया तेरी ओर तेरा चलया है जोर तेरा होया मैं यार वे भूले आए संसार में चलया तेरी ओर तेरा चलया है जोर तेरा होया मैं यार वे भूले आए संसार में जग तेरे लिए छोड़या दिल तेरे संग जोड़या अब तेरा मैं तो हो गया पाके तुझ में खो गया इश्क में दिल बना है इश्क में दिल बना है Thank you ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Good job. Keep it going for Avish Jain, everybody. Testing. Ooh. Did you guys enjoy Avish's performance? So amazingly talented. Thank you so much, Avish, for that amazing and moving performance. I am so beyond excited to bring up your next speaker to the stage. He is one of the reasons that we are all here today. Deepak Raj is the founder and managing director of Raj Associates, and more importantly, the founder of Indian American Impact. Mr. Raj has investments in real estate and public and private securities. He's also, with his wife Neera, the founder of the Raj Center on Indian Economic Policies at Columbia University, and spearheads a number of philanthropic endeavors, such as Pratham USA. Everyone put your hands together for the coveted Mr. Deepak Raj.
Thank you, Abby. Appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. I am just delighted to welcome you to the summit this year and the celebration this evening. We founded Impact 9 years ago, and with a very simple mission. The simple mission was, how do we get the community more engaged in the political process, and how do we help get our young women and men elected to public office in the US. And I'm just thrilled beyond belief as to how far we have come. When we started, we had one congressman in US Congress. Now we have 6. We have 6, and I tell you, we have just begun. We have long ways to go, and so we are going to have many more as time goes on. When we started, we had 30 elected officials in the entire country. This is all the school boards and the state houses and everything. Now we have 350. So 12 times as many, and it is really thrilling to see how far we have come. So listen, tonight is a night of celebration. I would like to recognize people who have been really critical to our success in this journey and who are going to take us forward, because the futures is ours to get. I think Raja just walked out for a second to take a call. Raja Krishnamurthy is here. Raja and I go back 15, 20 years. And listen, folks, one of the key races for 2026 that we are focused on is Raja for the Senate. So let us get together and support Raja. It is an incredibly important race for our community. He will be the first senator of Indian origin, born in India, in the US Senate. And we should all be working hard to help him and to promote him. I think Suhas is here. At least I see him earlier, Suhas Subramaniam from Virginia. We helped him win the race in 2024, and we are proud of you, Suhas. The other thing I would say is that there are many electeds in this room. And when you look ahead, the people who have worked hard to get elected to the House Senates, the state houses, and the local levels, they are going to be positioning themselves for higher office as time goes on. So can I just ask all the electeds in the room to stand up, please? There should be... There must be a few more. Come on, guys, don't be shy. And also, we have some very important elections coming up in 2025 and 2026. I really don't want to single out any particular races, but some of the high-profile races that we are focused on. I think you have Dr. Amish Shah from Arizona 1. Amish, stand up. Those of you who have not met Amish, please go and say hello to him and see how we can support him. I live in New Jersey, and we have Dr. Tina Shah. Tina, stand up. Tina is running for New Jersey 7, right? New Jersey 7. And it's a race which is winnable. And so we are totally behind Tina. We had lunch the other day, and you should get to know Tina. I'm sorry. Priya, yes. Welcome, Priya. Hey. And then we are neighboring state of Virginia. We have Lieutenant Governor Gala Hashmi. So listen, our future, one of the really great things about founding Impact has been, just personally speaking, being able to get to know and support these incredible young women and men who are doing us proud. So when I look at all of you, I think the future is very bright, despite all the issues that we are facing right now. But the future looks very bright. The other thing I would like to do, just bear with me for a minute. We've been on the journey for 9 years now at Impact, and this would not happen without just terrific executive directors. Our first executive director is here. Is Amit here? Where are you, Amit, Johnny? So when we started Impact in 2016, we are scrambling to see who we can get to work with to launch this thing. And Amit was willing to do it with Neha on a part-time basis for about 6 months. And then we're incredibly lucky to find Gautam Raghavan. Gautam is right here. And I tell you, when I need to write something, it takes me like 2 hours, I open up Microsoft Word or what have you. Gautam would just get these memos out in like 10 minutes, and I just couldn't believe. And he was an incredible fundraiser, incredible organizer. The first summit we had was organized by Gautam in 2018. It was absolutely fantastic. After Gautam was Aruna Miller. Aruna is now the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Maryland, which is an amazing thing. And then we kind of hit the jackpot a little bit with Neil Makhija. Neil, where are you? Neil is right there. Neil was an ED for about 4 or 5 years. It took us to incredible new heights. And we are just blessed to have people like Amit and Gautam and Neil pushing the organization forward. Otherwise, I don't know where we would be. So we are really grateful to all of you for this. And what else do I want to say? The only other thing I would say is that, I don't know if you agree or not, but it seems to me that we are a bit of a pivotal time for our community. You know, with all the stuff that we are seeing in politics right now, I think that we really need to get engaged. We must continue to focus on the values that bind us. I think Raja is back. Raja was in the morning today, spoke incredibly eloquently about what we need to do. And Raja had 4 things to do, which Raja, you can say again, you know, when you are up. But one of the core things he said was the values that bind us. And, you know, it is really important, I think, for all of us to be engaged. We need to collaborate. We need to forget about our differences and be together in this environment to ensure a bright future, not only for all of us, but for our kids and our grandkids and the next generation. So we will be coming back to you over the next month or two with a very defined plan, you know, how we are going to move forward on that venture. So listen, guys, I don't know if I forgot to thank somebody. If I did, I apologize, but thank you so much for coming. This event keeps getting better and better every year, and it won't be here without your support and your commitment. So we really appreciate it. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director, Chintan Patel. Chintan joined us last year. Chintan has 15 years of experience in political elections, in grassroots movements, and he's done an incredible job running Impact since he joined Impact. And I think, you know, he's helped us grow a different muscle, which is that how do you help our candidates win elections? And so he's very strong in that area, and he's brought this new muscle to Impact. And come on up, Chintan. Thanks for all that you're doing. Actually, you know, can I say one other thing here? I mean, the other thing I would just say is that we have some board members here, which I would like to thank. We have Neha Shah, from my neighbor in New Jersey. Where is Neha? We have Raghu, that you will hear from. We have Becky George. Becky. We have Vikas, who you heard from before. And Vinay. Where is Vinay? Vinay Thamalapulli. And anybody else I'm missing? And Neil, of course, and Neil Makija. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Have a terrific evening. And here's over to Chintan. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Well, good evening, everyone. I hope that's better audio level. Thank you all so much for joining. I want to share my own thanks to the incredible board that's here. I'll go in this order. Raghu, Becky, Vikas, Deepak Raj, obviously, Neha, Neil, Vinay. Thank you so much for all you have done to put this event together. I also want to thank, before I get too far into this, the incredible staff and team of Impact. Please give them a big round of applause. This whole event wouldn't be possible without them. And then I want to thank Deepak for his extraordinary leadership and his outsized impact in building this movement. None of us in this room would be here to celebrate as we are tonight without his vision in putting impact together in 2016. As Deepak mentioned, I'm the executive director of South Asian Impact Foundation. At Impact, I know I don't have to repeat myself, but you all know our mission here is pretty simple but urgent. We're here to build political power for the South Asian American communities so that our voice is part of this country's future. Our theme this year is Desis, Persist, our stories and our strength. For me, that theme isn't abstract, it's deeply personal. It's about my why. So I want to talk to you a little bit about my why. My parents gave up everything, family, friends, familiarity, to bring my sister and myself here from India in the early 90s. They believed in America to risk it all so that we could have the opportunities they never did. Their persistence is what shaped me. And now as a parent myself, I feel that same responsibility. My why, and I'm here with my wife, so she's gonna find a lot of this meaningful, Libby Green. My why is my two children. They're 4 and 2. They still see the world with unclouded eyes. Their endless whys aren't about doubt. They're about imagination. Their days are filled with wonder, and the hardest battles we face every day, thankfully it's their Uncle Johnny facing them tonight, is the bedtime negotiations, not the weight of hate and discrimination that we see around the country. It is their innocence and their unbound belief in the possibility that drives me to persist. Because I want them and all of our children to inherit a country where their dreams are limited only by how big they can dare to imagine, never by the skin color or the sound of their name or where their parents came from. That's my why. And I invite each and every one of you here tonight to think about yours. Each of you is here because there's something within you that is persisting. Each of us has a reason we refuse to give up, even in these dark times. Earlier today, a group of people in this room and others who couldn't join tonight went up to our first ever South Asian Hill Day of Action for our community. At that Hill Day, we saw our collective why in action. We told people in power our stories, right on Capitol Hill. Imagine that, about how broken our immigration system is, about the rising hate incidents that are affecting our families across the country. And in doing so, we showed our strength, our solidarity with the immigrant communities and communities of color, and our resolve to continue to persist. And that's just the beginning. With your support, South Asian Impact Foundation will build a pipeline of leaders, register voters, advocate for policies that move all of us, everyone in this room and everyone in this country, forward, so that our story is never, ever erased from the American story. So that brings me to why we're here tonight, to celebrate those stories and those heroes who inspire us all to persist. It's my privilege and honor to introduce somebody who's going to introduce our first award winner for the night. The founder of the Indrani Light Foundation, a nonprofit working to end domestic and gender-based violence and empower women globally. Indrani Garadia is an author, a speaker, a certified life coach, and a triathlete, and she will present this year's Shamala Gopalan Harris Award to a true hero. Please join me in welcoming Indrani Garadia.
This is really high. Hi, everyone. These lights are so bright, I cannot see you, and that's a good thing. Kavita, where are you? Kavita thinks I'm in Texas, but clearly I'm here. If you opened a thesaurus and you looked up the words capable, compassion, charismatic, and caring, you would find a picture of my friend Kavita Mehra. And by the way, isn't English so crazy? Shouldn't those words begin with a K? K for Kavita. I am not going to tell you all the wonderful things that you can read on her LinkedIn bio. I'm going to tell you some amazing things that you don't know. For instance, in 2002, Kavita was a student intern at Saki. You must have been in elementary school then. There was no way you could have been any older. And she knew she wanted that job in 2002. And she applied for the job 3 times. First 2 times, they didn't even call her back. She didn't give up. The 3rd time, they got it right. And because of that persistence, we get to honor her here tonight. Kavita never gives up. And this is what she tries to instill in her staff and in the survivors. Kavita shepherded Saki for South Asian women into Saki for South Asian survivors. And that little shift is extremely meaningful because survivors are children, women, and men. On a recent podcast, Kavita told the host that she has helped survivors as young as 6 years old and older than me. And yes, there are people in the world older than me. Could you imagine 6 years old? Kavita herself on that podcast says that she wishes that she had an organization like Saki because she had to navigate a very fraught childhood without the aid of any of the tools that Saki provides. Because of her experience, Kavita places the survivor in the middle of the circle of care and surrounds them with all the tools they need to move from victim to survivor to thriver. Mental health and legal help and how to navigate, how to fill out a job application, how to get a job application, how to keep a job, how to dress for a job. When you are a victim, you need to be completely retaught how to live life. And so Kavita uses her voice, her heart, and her big brain. And she encourages everyone she meets to denormalize what has become so normal for South Asian families. On that same podcast, Kavita said that the statistic is 48% of us. Look around. That's 1 in 2 families in this room, and that is way too much, and we cannot stand for it. Now, Kavita is going to do something about it. So please stand up Put your hands together and welcome my friend and a hero to the stage, Kavita Mehra. Right? You were so good. It was amazing. Okay.
I was not expecting that. I was expecting you, Becky George. Indrani tricked me, but that was the best surprise ever. Well, I want to say that I am deeply humbled and grateful to Impact to receive this honor. To say that I imagine myself in a light that is opposite of Dr. Shamla Gopalan Harris is an understatement. To all the misfits and underdogs in the room this evening, I am speaking directly to you. The first half of my life was marked by what I call a trifecta of trauma. Violence in one form or another was ever present. At home, in the working class community where I was raised in New Jersey, and in the Hallmark store my mother owned, where I spent much of my childhood through early adulthood. I have the great fortune of having two older sisters who, while navigating through their own pain, gave me a political consciousness that informs my belief system today. I often say, I wish my mother, sisters, and I had Saki in our lives because I know that our paths would have been profoundly different. My life shifted 24 years ago when I met someone who did something that no one had up until that point. He believed in me. He brought me food when I couldn't afford lunch. He drove me home after 12-hour shifts at a domestic violence shelter because I could then shower before heading to graduate school at Columbia. He supported me through the violence and instability when it became unbearable in my family. And when I heard Purvi Shah, Saki's former executive director, speak at our gala and told him that I wanted to be the next Purvi Shah, he looked at me and he said, "No, you will be the next Kavita Mehra." That person, my husband and Dylan's remarkable Baba, Manu Chopra, is in many ways the reason that I am standing here today. To not only see someone, but to believe in them is the greatest gift that we can offer any human being. And that is what we do at Saki every single day. My colleagues, including Pooja Raj Green, Nisa Sheikh, and Linda Chirian, who are here tonight, are the heartbeat of this work. They believe in survivors when the world has turned its back. They affirm survivors that their stories matter, that their power is intact, and they hold space until a tiny spark of hope grows into a fire that cannot be extinguished. It's also individuals like Bisham Sicharan, our board chair and advisory board member, Neha Desai Shah, and Indrani Garadia, who's also on our advisory board, who stand as fearless advocates for the work that we do when it is under attack. On the ground, this belief system shows up in ways that are both simple and life-changing. It's a bag of groceries from our food justice program, giving a mother the opportunity to feed her children while she figures out her next steps forward. It's one of our community organizers handing out red cards to ensure that our community is safe during the ICE raids that are sweeping across New York City. It's our team showing up in Washington, D.C., marching with thousands of others, because we will always speak truth to power. And it is survivors themselves, showing up, refusing to be erased, who all push us closer to justice. We are living in a time of rising xenophobia, political hostility, and relentless attacks on immigrants, survivors, queer, trans, and BIPOC communities. The violence that we are facing is layered at the individual, community, and systemic levels. From the restrictions on reproductive health care, to the hate crimes in our streets, to the attacks on trans lives, to the genocide in Gaza, all of this is gender-based violence. It is the defining public health issue of our time. Nearly half, 48% of South Asian Americans will experience gender-based violence at least once in their lifetime. None of us are untouched by GBV's haunting, life-altering reach. And yet, every day at Saki, I see something stronger than violence. I see the determination of survivors who refuse to be silenced. I see the resilience of young people daring to imagine a freer, more just future. I see the quiet revolution of healing and justice that binds this movement together. That is what sustains me. That is why I'm here tonight. As you walk away this evening, carry with you the quiet, extraordinary truth and power that belief in someone can change the course of their life. It happens to me, and it happens every single day at Saki. No matter the zeros in your bank account or the rooms where you hold influence, this is your single greatest gift: to believe in another person and to invest in them. This is how we build lasting legacy. So in accepting this award, I do so not for myself, but for every misfit and underdog who has been told they will not make it, for every survivor who has been told that their story does not matter, for every spark of power that just needed someone to believe in it. Belief changed my life, and at Saki, we are working to build a world where belief will change millions more. Thank you.
Well, I'm back. It is my privilege, my honor, to introduce my dear friend, Cory Booker. Cory, yes, please. Cory is my senator. He's a senior senator from the state of New Jersey. And I tell you, I mean, when we started Impact once again, the first summit that Gautam had organized was 2018, and Cory was there to open the summit. So he has been an incredible guiding light, an incredible inspiration, and a source of support for the organization. In his own right, Cory is passionate about immigrant rights, health equity, and so many things that he will talk about. I mean, he's a true champion for all of us. So, Senator, without further, one thing I would say is that also I would like to celebrate the personal joy. Just 2 weeks ago, Cory got engaged. So let us wish him and Alexis a very long, happy, and fulfilling life together. My dear friend, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So I just want to say before I even start to Kavita, I was blown away. I knew a little bit about you, but Deepak Raj is your hype man, and as you were speaking, and he kept telling me these amazing things about you, I am in awe of what you do, the impact you're making. Generations not yet born will feel the power of your love. Thank you for your light. Thank you very much. All right, I was told that I had a short time, which I'm a black guy who grew up in a Baptist church. It's very difficult for me to do. So I'm going to try to tell you this from my heart. I have been a part of this organization since its founding. And 9 years ago, I had a crazy guy with a crazy vision come to me and tell me what he was planning on doing. And immediately, because I am crazy, because this world has been shaped by people with extraordinary vision, I bought in right away. Because what I knew is that the American Indian community is the inheritor of a deep dual legacy. From a democracy movement in India that threw off the yoke of imperialism and has now risen to be the world's most popular democracy. That is one deep legacy. And the other deep legacy for the American Indian community is the American story of the struggle for a democracy and a more perfect union. And what we have seen of the Indian American community is obvious. I do not need to tell a room full of Indians about how amazing the Indian American community is. But from business to science to medicine to education, you see at the highest heights, from the most powerful companies to university, you see Indian leadership and Indian impact. But what Deepak Raj knew is the one area where it is not proportionally represented was the area of politics. Now look, you're talking to the guy whose Oxford classmate was Bobby Jindal. You're talking to the guy who is my sister is Kamala Harris. I know, as I sat next to a great congressman, as I know that there is many people, Vivek Murthy is my spirit animal. Tell him I said that. But the reality is, given the power, the influence, the talent, the skill, the resources, the Indian American community was not represented enough in the political sphere. And so I'm proud to be here today to mark the 9th year. I don't know who he's got as a speaker for the 10th year. It ain't me. But the 9th year speaker gets me excited, and I'm going to do something I haven't done enough of, which is just embarrass Deepak Raj. Because I have a lot of friends, but I will tell you, I don't have anybody that reminds me as much, and he's now going to think that I'm calling him old, but he reminds me of the spirit of my grandfather so much. Now, he is my peer, not my granddad, so bear with me. My granddad was born in the South, in the rural South, at a time that being an African American meant your life expectancy was a lot lower. It meant if you stepped out of line, you could end up in prison or worse. He was able to go to college and get his degree, and then to look for opportunity, he made sacrifice. He moved, not as far as many Indian Americans did, showing up in this country with nothing and showing a possibility of making a way out of no way. But my grandfather landed in Detroit, Michigan with nothing. And then he started working on the assembly lines. Then he opened up businesses, an entrepreneur. Any business he could think of, he opened up. He opened up a pool hall. He opened up a laundromat. He opened up a gas station. And yes, my grandfather ran numbers back in the 1930s and 40s. Statute of limitations is over. He was a hustler, an entrepreneur. And he created wealth and stability for his family, but he worked those union lines as well. He was a union organizer. During World War II, he built bombers. But this is the thing about my grandfather and Deepak that gets me excited to be here right now, is the fact that my grandfather knew that blacks in Detroit had to start getting more involved in politics and become more active. And so he went out on this campaign to begin knocking on doors to convince blacks to register to vote and engage. And at that time, he had the additional challenge of helping blacks move from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party, because it was the party of Lincoln that blacks had an allegiance to. And so next thing you know, he is successful. He bragged to the day he died that he got 14 districts to move from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. But more than that, he started seeing African Americans getting elected to offices, local offices, state offices. He created a power base of active, engaged people from every sector of the black community that started flexing its muscles, not just in manufacturing or entrepreneurialism, but in the political sphere as well. Deepak's crazy vision is just what this nation needs. And it's not just a vision for South Asians, it's a vision for America. Because without the power and genius and light and love of this community at our kitchen table of America, at the table of democracy, at the table of politics and governance, we are a lesser nation. And so when I think about what my grandfather achieved and what he taught me as a young man growing up, I think about my friend Deepak and what he is doing and how this room has grown, and how 9 years later, I have seen leaders all across the country benefit from this organization. There is a movement rising in the South Asian community, and before you know it, you will see South Asian senators and more South Asian governors. And I'm telling you right now, I will live to see a South Asian president of the United States of America. And I hope that when that man or woman, probably woman, is in the White House, South Asian women, I gotta give you some respect. I hope that they bring this man to the White House and put a Medal of Freedom around his neck. And so let me end with this. Let me end with this, because I know there are some people like me, if this is a South Asian gathering, someone has a degree in science in this room. I mean, I have a degree in science, political science. I want to tell you one last thing in honor of my friend. We're in tough times right now. Assaults on our democracy. I just look at what's happening with immigration alone, and it is such an affront, not just to our moral values, but even our economic interests. When you have masked people jumping out of unmarked cars, going to churches and schools and religious, other religious institutions or courthouses, and dragging people who are American or have American children, when you're ripping apart families, when you're taking away some of the best workers and entrepreneurs, when you are doing these things, it doesn't just hurt our morals and our values, it actually hurts our economy and our communities and damages the American dream. Langston Hughes said it, there's a dream in this land with us back against the wall. To save the dream for one, we must save the dream for all. It's one of the reasons why I love the way the Impact was designed, that you don't just support Indian American candidates, South Asian candidates, but you know the power of coalition. You may have even supported some black dude from New Jersey. I mean, you know the power of bringing people together and showing that we will stand up not based on what our ethnicity is, but based upon what our core values are. That's the power of this group. And so I want to end with this. I'm going to get science-y on folks, not political science-y, but actual science, by making this point. The worst thing you can do in a time of moral trial, the worst thing you can do in moments like this, is underestimate your power to make a difference. You may not be able to change the world, but you can make as the honoree tonight, you can make a world of difference in someone's life. And you never know the generations later what those people will be doing, that what we do today matters. I was telling an astrophysicist named Neil deGrasse Tyson about my granddad. I was up in Harlem at the Apollo Theater, and I was doing a incredible podcast called Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, I am not the best scientist, but I love sci-fi. And so Neil deGrasse Tyson and I were bonding over everything you can think about science fiction, and I was so psyched to be on Star Talk. Maybe I could talk about Star Trek. But I was teasing him, this scientist, for his lack of religiosity. Now, I'm a big believer. Before you tell me about your religion, first show it to me and how you treat other people. Before you tell me about how much you love your God, show it to me and how much you love all of God's children. Before you told me about the passion for your faith, show it to me and your compassion for folks. But I am a spiritual guy. And I love the manifestations of faith, from Judaism to Hinduism to vegetarianism. I love it. And so I was teasing Neil deGrasse Tyson for not having faith. And I told him, I'm going to be right. I will see you in heaven and we will dance together. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson, knowing about my grandfather's passing, said, well, let me get spiritual on you for a second. And I was shocked. I was like, you want to get spiritual on me? I'm excited. I want to hear this. And he goes, well, I want to tell you something. When you look at the sun in the sky, Corey, you're actually not seeing the sun where it is. You're seeing the sun where it was almost exactly 8 minutes ago. Because that's how long it takes light to travel to the earth. By the time it gets there, that sun is actually physically moved in the sky. And then he goes, now Corey, when you look at the stars in the night sky, you are seeing stars that are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of light years away. That means the light that you're seeing has been traveling for those hundreds of millions of years. Dinosaurs looked at the same stars in the sky, but some of those stars that we are seeing as if they are still there died out a long time ago, but you're seeing them because the light and the energy and the warmth that they gave off when they were alive goes on forever. He said, your grandfather's passed away, but you're still bathing in his warmth and his light and his love. He said to me, that's immortality. That's pretty profoundly spiritual. Everybody in this room right now, you are a part of impact. I'm not sure when we're here for the 25th or the 35th anniversary, when we've had that South Asian senator and governor, and many of them. I'm not sure if they'll remember the names of the founders. But tonight I want to tell you that the work you all have done in this organization, the energy you've put into it, the light of its founders, this nation will bathe in that brilliance for generations to come. Thank you.
Up next to the stage, I am so honored to bring up Virginia State Senator and Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor, Gala Hashmi. Yeah. Gala Hashmi was born in Hyderabad, India, and raised in Georgia. She earned her bachelor's in English at Georgia Southern University and a PhD in English from Emory University. Before politics, she spent decades working as an educator and academic administrator, including founding and directing a Center for Teaching and Learning at Virginia's community college system. First elected to the Virginia Senate in 2019, she now chairs the Senate's Education and Health Committee and is the Democratic nominee in Virginia's 2025 lieutenant gubernatorial election. Please give it up for State Senator Gala Hashmi, everybody.
Well, thank you so much to Abby, and good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. So great to see you all this evening, and I am Virginia State Senator Gala Hashmi, and I'm so honored to join you again this year for the 2025 Impact Gala, and now to stand in front of you as Virginia's Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor. Thank you to IA Impact for the support and the encouragement. In the eyes of so many people, you know, my journey into the spaces of politics and state government may seem to be an improbable one. You see, I entered these spaces after a 30-year career in higher education. And when I first decided to run in 2019, so many people said to me, Gala, we don't think you're the right kind of candidate. They said, you've never run for office before. They said, you're a Muslim, you're an immigrant. But it's precisely for those reasons that I ran. I may have been an unconventional candidate, but my story was and continues to be, like each of us in the room today, a profoundly American narrative. I had spent 30 years teaching that narrative as a professor of American literature. I had taught my students that the shape and the ideals of our American identity are defined through our nation's essays, fiction, poetry, and philosophy. The American story is vast, and it is complex and challenging and compelling. It is our story, and it is still being written today by each of us. My own American story began in July 1964 when my father received 2 telegrams on the very same day in his modest home in Karachi, Pakistan. For those of you who are not born in the distant 1900s, let me just explain. A telegram was a form of instant messaging. It was instant messaging that sometimes took a few days to arrive. But anyway, my father received 2 telegrams on the same day. The first came from America, and it shared the good news that he had been selected for admission to a PhD program. And the second telegram arrived from Hyderabad, India, and it shared another piece of good news, that he was now the father of a baby girl. That baby was me. My father made that painful decision to leave his young family temporarily and to pursue his education goals in this country. And so nearly 5 years later, in 1969, I met my father for the very first time when I landed in Savannah, Georgia airport, and I began my own American story. And then 50 years later, I ran for office in 2019 because some in this country questioned whether I was American enough, and because some told me that I did not belong here. I asked, who gets to determine the shape and the breadth of our American identity? I ran for office because I know as an immigrant, as an American, and as a reader of this nation's literary text that America is actually an idea. It is an idea that transcends ethnicity, it transcends geography and national boundaries. America is an idea, as imperfect as it may be, that the voice of each person ought to be valued, that equality under the law supersedes status and wealth and power, and that each of us plays an essential role in protecting the values of our democracy. So I am truly honored to serve now in public office. And in my 6 years in the Virginia Senate, I focused on the issues that impact the lives of all Virginians, and especially the lives of those who sat in my community college classroom: housing and education, healthcare, and economic opportunity. And in so many ways, it was the literature of this country and my own immigrant experiences that shaped the work that I do. I go back time and time again to my roots in American writing. My favorite poet is Walt Whitman, who tried to capture the vastness of this nation and its various voices. And a recurring theme for Whitman was the complex spirit of America, which to him took the shape of a song. And he wrote, "I hear America singing." I hear America singing is what Whitman said. And it is that song of America that continues to challenge each generation, each new immigrant, each person who wants to add their voice to this nation's narrative. We see it in the 1920s when a young black poet in the midst of the Harlem Renaissance dared to claim that American song as his own. It was the poet Langston Hughes, who Senator Cory Booker just quoted also. It was Langston Hughes, in defiance of racism, in defiance of bigotry, who wrote, "I too sing America," claiming that identity that had for painful centuries been denied to Black Americans. And so in 2019, I stood in front of Virginia voters and said, as a Muslim and as an immigrant, I too sing America. I asked voters to help me share that message. I asked voters to help me share that message that Ghazala Hashmi is an American name, and they agreed. This song of America is enriched by each of you, by our collective and individual immigrant journeys, by our complicated and beautiful identities. And as I've traveled all across Virginia these past 18 months on a campaign trail, I've asked each person to add their voice to this song. I've reminded people of the value and the strength of our democracy, which will persist. And so I have a call of action here tonight. I ask you to please remember that most important word right now is the one word that identifies us collectively and inclusively, and it is also the very first word of our American Constitution. It is that simple and yet vital word, we, as in we the people. So help me share the message this year that we the people are stronger together. We the people are resilient together. And we the people of this nation never betray the song, that idea that is truly America. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Now they're both off. What? This one's still off. My name is Neil Makija. Thank you. I had the honor of serving previously as executive director of Impact, now serve on the board and as president. And I just want to tell you, it is hard to put on the show, the summit, the gala, the first ever day on the Hill with 150 people reaching our members of Congress. Give it up to the Impact staff, to Chintan Patel, who's doing an extraordinary job, who's taking us to the next level. You weren't kidding, Indrani. I really can't see anyone up here. But we have a really fantastic award that we get to deliver at the Gala every year. And as Deepak Raj, our visionary co-founder, announced in his introduction, he said when Impact was first founded, we only had 50 South Asians or Indian Americans in office across the board, across the entire country. We now have 350. And this award, the Dalip Singh Sand Award, in recognition of the first Indian American, first South Asian ever to hold office as a member of Congress in the 50s in California, is the award where we pick one of those elected officials and recognize their example, their persistence, their resilience, their commitment to fighting for the American dream. And so while we've gone from 50 to 350, it's made giving this award a little bit harder every year. But this awardee is someone who you will be not surprised to see receive it. So I first met this elected official when we were both candidates in 2016. So I made my first bid for office for a state legislature, and he was running for Congress. We met actually, Sanjeev, in diaspora at a panel, and he gave me some advice. He gave me advice about how I needed to be persistent, how I needed to not give up despite the fact that whether it's the phone call you make or the door that you knock, a lot of people are going to say no. They're going to say maybe you're not the right fit for this district. And maybe you're not the right profile for the candidate who could win. But you got to stick with it because you have talent and you have something to offer to your community, and your community as a whole will be better for your service. So that stuck with me after I lost, and he actually won and got elected to Congress. I know this because while I was looking for a job after, he called me and he said, "Neil, can you contribute $1,000 to my reelection?" And I said, "I don't have a job yet, I'm unemployed." And he said, "How's 250? But he taught me very early on that you got to keep focused on your mission. You got to keep focused on your goals if you're going to achieve them and if you're going to serve. And of course, you all know I'm talking about Raja Krishnamurthy. You know who I'm talking about. Just to roast him a little bit. But I got a job. I worked at a law firm working on the opioid cases, fighting for communities that were afflicted by the crisis and other issues of addiction, where companies profited from addicting children, for example, to e-cigarettes at the time. And, one of my proof points of being Indian American is that whenever there's a flavor available in mango, I choose it. All of my friends notice this. It reminds me of Fruity, if you know Fruity. So there's one place where mango is really not a good flavor that should exist, and it's in e-cigarettes. And this company, Juul, was selling e-cigarettes in mango-flavored and addicting millions of children. There was a time in 2018 where 30% of high school students were vaping and buying these products. But then came Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy. So I was involved in that issue, and I went to every member of Congress on the Oversight Committee and told them this story of what was happening. They all ignored me, didn't get any responses. One office, I met with a junior staffer. Raja replied within 5 minutes to the email, added it his now Chief of Staff, Brian. Within weeks, had a hearing, dragged in the CEO who had become a billionaire off of addicting these children. And within days of that, the Trump White House announced a ban on flavored e-cigarettes across the country. And now, it led to this beautiful moment where Trump was in the Oval Office with the First Lady, and he said, "I care about this issue of e-cigarettes because, she has a son. We have a son." And he was able to persuade even President Trump at the time. But I'll tell you, in those 6 years, we've now gone from 30% of kids using these products to now 6%. And that's because of the work that Raja's done. So that's just one issue. Raja's been a fighter for ethics, for integrity. He fought public corruption in Illinois, and now he's a leader on the bill to ban stock trading amongst members of Congress. He's someone who's been a leader in the TikTok divestment bill. He's been a leader in making sure that our country remains competitive globally. And you'll hear his story and how he knows that it's because of his background, being an immigrant, being an Indian American, fighting for the American dream, starting in a place where his family relied on Medicaid, relied on food stamps that are now being cut and taken away from millions of families. He's someone who is a fighter to ensure that that opportunity exists not just for our community, but for every person in our country. And that's something that we can be incredibly proud of. And I'm excited, as Deepak said, that because of that hard work, because of that persistence, that resilience, that commitment to service, Raja is poised, with our help and everyone in this room, to become the next U.S. Senator from the state of Illinois. So I'm very proud that we're going to honor, for the first time this year, a member of Congress with the Dalip Singh San Award, and that is Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy. Come on up.
Good evening. It's really one of my biggest honors to receive this award. I see his portrait every single day in the Capitol, and I look at it wondering what he faced when he first started out, and to receive an award in his name is such a high privilege. So thank you. I should tell you that it's an honor to be with you. As I like to say, it's an honor to be any place they can pronounce my name correctly. When I first ran for office, actually when I ran for Congress, someone said to me, Raja Krishnamurthy, where did you get that funny name and what does it mean? So I said, it's very simple. Translated from an ancient Indian language, it means Congressman for the 8th District of Illinois. And so I'm just so honored to be here. I want to observe those 3 rules of public speaking: be short, be sweet, and be gone. So 3 points. Give a big round of applause to Deepak Raj, Neil Makija, Chintan. I can't hear you. I can't say enough good things about these people. They're some of the, and the board as well, just some of the finest people you're ever going to meet. And just for the record, Neil, I think I asked you for $300. But in all seriousness, Neil, Commissioner, congratulations on your success. Deepak, as Cory Booker said, you are immortal. And you're the light and the impact of your work is going to go on for decades based on everything that you've done so far. So thank you. Second point I want to make, Desis have arrived in the United States. I have to tell you this. So I got a BS in mechanical engineering. Some people say I practice the BS part now. But I like to talk about statistics. And one of the most interesting statistics comes from the census, the 2020 census. And in that 2020 census, it's just a fascinating compilation of information, especially about Indian Americans. I'll just tell you a few. One is that the Indian American community is the fastest growing ethnic community in the United States. It's the best educated community. It's the most prosperous community. And it's some of the best looking people I've ever seen. Okay, that was not in the census. But then some other analyses were done about Desis, and you have to know about this. Okay? 10% of all doctors are Desi. 60% of all hotel rooms are owned by Desis. 10% of all patents are owned by Desis. 28 of the last 34 national spelling bee champions were Desi. I was not one of them. But if you want to spell success, you spell it D-E-S-I, Desi. Am I right about that? You have arrived. The community has arrived in this country. But now this community strives to figure out, okay, what is the next step? What do we do? Well, this is my third and final point. It's a little more extended. It has to do with what do we do next? There's an old saying in Washington, D.C., which is if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. One of those tables is the United States Senate. I think it's time to pull up a seat to that table. What about you? And the reason is my backstory. My backstory is very simple. I was born in India. I came to this country when I was 3 months old to Buffalo, New York. Things were going great until suddenly my father lost his income in the early 1970s. That recession hit him like a ton of bricks. But thanks to the generosity of the American people, we were allowed to move into public housing and food stamps. So I spent a good portion of my childhood in those two life-sustaining programs. My father was able to get on his feet and later on get a great job in, of all places, Peoria, Illinois. They loaded up the U-Haul truck and drove until they reached Peoria. And that's really where they entered the middle class. And pretty much every night at the dinner table, my father would say, think of the greatness of this country. Think of the greatness of this country, and whatever the two of you do, my brother and me, just make sure it's there for the next families who need it. So that became the North Star of my personal compass. Fast forward through college and law school, came back to Illinois. I worked in the private sector, then I entered Illinois government. I helped to start the anti-corruption unit of the Illinois Attorney General's office. Business was good. Business was very good. These were the Rod Blagojevich years. Full employment for all prosecutors in Illinois. I became deputy state treasurer, ran a very small business, and then got elected to my current position as a United States congressman. 5 terms later, I'm still pursuing that mission statement given to me by my parents. Make sure this country is there for the next families who need it. My district is the 8th district of Illinois, and these people are some of the finest people in the United States. The one thing that they share in common is they can't pronounce my name. However, there's an incredible diversity of that district and has one of the biggest concentrations of Indian Americans of any congressional district anywhere in the country. It has so many that my oldest boy, his name is Vijay. He was on a team of 8 people, 5 of whom were Desi, and both coaches were Desi. And so someone said to me, Deepak, Raja, that team must be very bad. And I said, no, you don't understand. Every other team in this league looks the same. And so it's very fair and balanced, just like Fox News. And so this particular district, which, by the way, is the vast majority of which is white Caucasian, elected me to Congress because they wanted someone to fight for their values. And those values are the ones that we've been talking about here at Impact today. Now, what are those values? They have to do with the American dream. They have to do with the American dream, the idea that everyone has, in America, everybody has the right to pursue their potential, regardless of whether they're working poor, middle class, growing a business, and regardless of the color of their skin, how they pray, whom they love, or the number of letters in their name. There are 29 in mine. That particular American dream is now slipping from the grasp of millions of people. Millions of people, especially during this economic chaos of Donald Trump. And so we're left with the question, what kind of a government do we want? What kind of a government do we want? Do we want a government that's there for those fighting to make it? Or do we want a government that's primarily catering to those who have it made? I say we have to fight as Indian Americans and as all Americans for a government that's trying to cultivate the American dream for everyone. Are you with me on this? This is non-negotiable. But that dream is under attack. And you can just see it in my own personal story. That legal immigration system that enabled all of us to come to this country is being dismantled every single day. The public housing and food stamps is on the chopping block now. And that those public schools are under threat as Donald Trump seeks to actually close the Department of Education. And so now we're left with two choices. We either roll over or we fight. I say we fight. We have no choice. We have to fight. We have to fight in the courts. We have to fight in the press. We have to fight in the court of public opinion. We have to fight in the halls of Congress. And yes, we have to fight in the United States Senate. And so I am pursuing the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate in Illinois in 2026 to preserve, protect, and defend the American dream from mortal assault by Donald J. Trump. We have to do everything in our power right now to band together. Because although, as I mentioned earlier and as Deepak mentioned as well, there are differences among us, what binds us, I believe, is the belief that that American dream must be accessible. It must be accessible. It is the light. It is the light and the set of aspirations that hold us together more than anything else. And so I hope to be successful. I am so grateful for your support. And together, we are going to break the brown glass ceiling in the United States Senate, once and for all. I just want to close by saying thank you to all of you for your activism, for your energy, for your talent, for your vision. But I also want to say thank you to the founders of Impact, because I would not be here but for your work. So thank you again. And thank you to all of you. Thank you so much.
All right, good evening. Come on, let's be louder. I know this is I know we're getting to near the end of the program. We've got a lot of folks at the bar. And I realize I'm standing between you and dancing tonight. Let me thank Abby for the tips to get a free subscription, a downloadable copy of The Klansman tonight. But as Congressman Krishnamurthy said, I also want to thank the Impact team, especially Deepak Raj for his amazing visionary leadership, Commissioner Neil Makuja, who is probably the only state or local elected official I know that has won an Emmy Award, and Chitad Patel for serving as an amazing elected director. We just heard from Ami Bera, but I'm here to tell you, before there was Ami, before there was Pramila, before there was Raja, before there was Ro, before there was Suhas, before there was Sri, what Raja Krishnamurthy is affectionately referred to as the Samosa Caucus, there was Kumar, there was Swati, there was Raj, and there was Jay. And by Jay, I'm not referring to myself. I am referring to the first South Asian Americans that were elected to office in their respective state houses in Maryland, Iowa, Ohio, and Kansas. This is important to remember because there is no doubt that in the last decade, as we are a direct witness tonight, that we have seen a remarkable rise of South Asian Americans elected now to both Congress and state houses. But I am here to remind you that more than 20 years ago, as we saw South Asians break ground to become the first ever electeds in their offices in their respective states, They found a passionate and fierce political operative with Raghu Devaguptapu who believed who believed with all his heart that the importance of representation of our community and the ideals of a multiracial democracy. It's Raghu's fierce devotion and love to our community, something I know his immigrant parents instilled to him, that helped play a pivotal role in electing so many South Asian Americans to become the first in their community to be elected in their state houses, including me. And it's that same devotion and love to our community that helped Raghu play a role in electing 4 out of the 6 South Asian members of Congress today. But Raghu's accomplishment really extends beyond just electing our own. He's the only media consultant to have worked on all 5 Democratic Party major independent expenditures, the Senate Majority PAC, the House Majority PAC, the Democratic Congressional Committee, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign, and the Democratic Governors Association, and what's jokingly called the Infinity Gauntlet. But here's what I treasure the most as a friend of Raghu is the incredible work that he's done in mentoring a whole new generation of South Asian operatives, whether it's helping them with their next job or helping them clear the way for South Asians to succeed in the industry. So let me conclude by saying this, and I know this, Raghu, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but I know as a young man growing up in Wisconsin in a tight-knit South Asian community, Raghu once aspired to be a rock star as he toured with his band across the country playing on college campuses. And that still may be Raghu's calling card. But Raghu, my friend, you are solid as a rock to so many of us. You have helped get elected to office. You are solid as a rock to so many friends that are here tonight, many that you have mentored and helped. You are solid as a rock, as a son, a husband to Rima, a father to 2 amazing daughters. And yes, Raghu, you are the rock star in our community that has helped change the narrative of what it means to be an American and helped elect so many good progressives to offices around the country. And so tonight, I want to congratulate you on receiving the Civic Engagement Award from Impact. I know that this country now needs you more than ever as you continue to fight for the American narrative. I know that you will persist. And yes, we're still waiting for that tour announcement. Give it up for Raghu Devaguptapu.
Right. Sweet.
I can tell you who's solid as a rock is all of you that stayed this long. Thank you. Okay. I will do my best to be brief. What an honor. Good evening, everybody. First, I have to, like everybody else, let me thank everyone at Impact, especially our founder, Deepak Raj. We had coffee together almost a decade ago and found like-mindedness sitting at PJ Clark's, realizing that this is what something could be for our community. I also want to thank Narendra Mulani, who had to leave. He's one of our important board members. Neil Makija, our wonderful president, and of course, Chintan Patel, our fantastic executive director, who I begged to take this job. And we are so lucky that you did. And of course, the entire hardworking staff of Impact, who just crushes it all the time for our community. Back in English class, we were taught that impact is always a noun, not a verb. But this organization is very clearly proven otherwise, because impact acts. It builds, it wins elections, and it changes lives. And as an original board member of the organization, I couldn't be prouder of everything that it's achieved over the last decade. not in my speech, but I want to be clear about this. We have some candidates here who are fantastic. Impact has moved millions and millions of dollars to South Asian candidates across the country, up and down the ballot, and we've made a really, really big difference to this community. And so thank you all for being here. I want to thank Senator Chowdhury for his kind words. The first time Jay and I met, he told me, "Hey, brother, I know we just met, but I feel like I've known you my whole life." And while I'd never met a Desi with a Southern drawl before, the feeling was certainly mutual. Since then, we've grown our careers and families side by side, and I'm so grateful for our friendship, and North Carolina is truly lucky to have his leadership. I also want to thank Congressman Bera, who unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight. He's actually leaving for India in a couple of days, too. His campaigns were some of my first big ones as a consultant, and they were tough, and they were expensive, and sometimes downright nasty. People don't know this, for 8 years, I never saw a poll that had Ami over 50%. But yet, he kept winning, and his resilience has inspired, in my mind, a new generation of South Asian candidates across the country. Ami took a chance on me when I was a young guy with a little more swagger than sense, frankly, as a consultant. But my story will forever be entwined with his, and I owe him a lot. So thank you, Ami. Good luck on your travel abroad. When we first campaigned for Ami, we made him say that he would never take a first-class flight because we hit his opponent for flying back to D.C. first class, and now he's going to India, and I bet he's sitting coach. And then I want to take a moment just to thank the people who have had the biggest impact on my life, and that's my family. To my daughters, Sami and Kea, who remind me every day why this work matters. To my wife, Rima, who many of you know, who helps keep me sane. So, by our third date, I knew that I wanted to marry her. She, on the other hand, wasn't quite sure. But I did do what I do best. I ran a persuasion campaign. Next year, we will celebrate our 20th anniversary, so I think it worked. And I also I want to thank my parents, Padma and Seshagiri Rao, Deva Gupta, who are here, who I owe so much. Like, one of the things that I love about this evening is, here you go, Dad. One of the things I love about this evening is I think a lot of us are saying many of the same things about our journeys and why we persist. My parents came to this country 6 decades ago, guided by little more than a compass of hope and a conviction that America was a land of opportunity for them. But they didn't head for New York or LA. Instead, they settled in a place that they knew they'd blend in, rural Wisconsin and Michigan. Right. About as far from India as you can imagine. But it was cold and it was unfamiliar. My dad even sold his sport coat to buy my mom her first winter jacket. And they didn't know a soul. So they opened up the phone book, picked out the first Indian name they saw, and they dialed it. But that one phone call became the start of a community they built from scratch. And I think it revealed a really important lesson. Representation matters. Whether it's in the phone book or on a ballot, when you see yourself reflected in the world, you know you belong. And that's why impact is so important. My parents taught me that lesson time and again. One day in Michigan, before my first day in school, my mom bought me this University of Michigan #1 Anthony Carter jersey. For those of you Wolverines in the building, which turned out from my mom's case to be a really savvy move because suddenly I wasn't just the new kid. I wasn't just the brown kid. I was the kid wearing the jersey of one of the greatest wide receivers in college football at the time. And in a sea of white, I was actually part of the club. But, while my parents encouraged my sister Priya and I, who's here this evening, to build community and connection wherever we could, they never let us forget where we came from. We were Indian, and we were damn proud of it. And that's why when I walked into classrooms as the only brown child in that room, I didn't shrink or shy away. I thought, sweet, I'm one of a kind, just like that jersey. I'm really grateful to my parents for instilling me with that confidence in my identity, because I quickly learned how rare it is for kids who look like us. In college, which sadly was a long time ago, I met so many students of color still searching for that sense of belonging, still carrying the weight of feeling like an outsider. But I thought if just a few of us can get through that door, maybe we can tear off those hinges and make it easier for everyone else that follows. So over the last 20 years, I've tried to do exactly that. And thanks to so many people in this room, as we've talked about this evening, I think we've made remarkable progress. Before Ami, as we've said, he was the only South Asian Democrat in Congress, and our numbers in state houses were stuck in single digits. Now we've got 6 in Congress. We've got almost how many do we have nationwide, Chimpin? State legislators? Yeah. When I was a national political director of the DLCC in 2002, there was 4. And now how many do we have? In the 20s. All right. And this upcoming cycle, it's critical that we can keep building. Our candidates are running in races that could decide control of the House. They're going to flip key state legislatures and expand our voice in the U.S. Senate with Raja. Right. But here's the thing. Right now, we can literally determine the balance of power in this country. And Impact is critical in making that happen. And everyone in this room is critical in making that happen. And this work has never been more important. Our democracy, it's under assault. Our educational opportunities are being attacked at every turn. The very promise of America, the same one that brought my family and so many of yours to this country, are viewed with suspicion and disdain. That's why this moment demands all of us. Everyone in this room is a leader here. And everyone in this room has a responsibility to stand up and be heard, because our stories have always made this nation stronger, and it's our triumphs that have always moved this nation forward. But here's the thing, it's not just about changing who holds office, it's also about changing who builds our campaigns and who leads in the exchange of ideas. It's about building a pipeline for the next generation of South Asian leaders can dream bigger than we did. That's why I've always been committed to opening doors for aspiring operatives of color, providing mentorship and resources, putting them on payroll or placing them on campaigns, and just making sure they know that they don't just belong in our politics, they strengthen it. This is the thing, right? So I'm deeply humbled that Impact has honored me this evening, and I can't thank all of you enough for staying past all of your bedtimes. So I want to thank you, Impact, for helping lead this fight. I want to thank you, Rima, Kay, and Samia, for your constant love. And thank you all for this incredible honor. Now, as we're getting close to the end of this thing here, I just want to say, let's go win some elections, and let's help this country live up to the promise that drew my parents here all those years ago. So thank you. Thank you very much. Right.
Let's give it up one more time. Congratulations again. Before we close tonight, I just want to pause and give some gratitude. It has been such a special evening. To our award recipients, speakers, and performers who reminded us why we gather and why we persist. To our vendors, can we give it up for the Salamander Hotel, the caterers, the people who helped feed us tonight? Thank you so much. To Abby for keeping us laughing, to DJ Rohan for keeping us moving with the music, to the small businesses that took all my money tonight, thank you so much. I got some earrings, I got some rings, I appreciate it. To Nisha Ramachandran and Victoria Meany, who led a powerful Hill Day. If you started the morning with us, I told you that I met my wife at Hill Day, so I hope you met somebody tonight. If you did, I hope I'm invited to the wedding. To the incredible Impact staff. Can we give it up for the Impact staff and the fellows? Y'all are incredible. Thank you for everything that you do. I mean, think about every detail that went into this. That was all Impact. And that is not a very big staff at all. I've worked at organizations that have 200, 300 people. This is a small staff that did an incredible job tonight. So again, Impact, y'all are such a blessing to us. And most importantly, to all of you, thank you for being here. And we have a call to action for you. Connect with each other tonight. I hope you get each other's numbers, Instagrams, all the things. Connect with Impact. If you're not following Impact online, I hope that you do. Remain engaged. Follow, get on their subscriber list, get on their email list, and do the thing. Connect with your communities. Tell them about Impact. Donate to Impact. Give where you can, because so much is being pulled back from these organizations. And it is us right now that can make a difference. And I hope that you do. I hope you pull out your phones, your wallets, your Apple, whatever it is, and send money to Impact, because they are doing the damn thing. Sorry for the language, but it's past 10. And again, sustain this energy. When you go home, I hope you continue to connect with your communities, reach out, and let everybody know that we can make a difference. It is our community that can do and push our elections to the next level. So thank you again for being here tonight. Get another drink. Have a good night, y'all. Bye.